Hello, this is Khaya Carter, and this is my research project for learning and applying in the classroom. My topic question is: how can you make lessons more inclusive for all learners, including English language learners and special education learners? My key terms are inclusion. Inclusion is merging of special education and regular education with the belief that all children are different, will learn differently, and should have full access to the same curriculum. Inclusion basically speaks about the openness of a classroom where no matter if a student is learning English at a different rate or level or even needs special education accommodations, they are able to access the same curriculum that mainstream students are taking. So they're basically having the opportunity to stay at that level with access to those needs, to their accommodations, and having their needs met. English language learners are anyone who speaks English fluently or is still learning English. So these students, their proficiency level ranges. So some students may speak little to no English, where some maybe speak English but maybe are needing help with reading or writing. And then some are fluent but still maybe, because English is not their native language, they're still needing to kind of tweak their acquisition. So English language learners, the main thing that I would like to say is that they're on a spectrum. All of them are not at the same level, so we do need to treat them in different regards. Accommodations are classroom techniques or materials that are used to help struggling students work through difficulties. For instance, students that are in special education tend to have accommodations where maybe a test is read out loud to them, or they have a printed text of a presentation so that they can easily follow and stay along. Sometimes in these classrooms, there are paraprofessionals who sit with the students that have accommodations and kind of go over the work with them and assist them throughout the classroom. Additionally, students that have accommodations for test taking maybe have the test read out loud to them outside of the classroom where mainstream students aren't disturbed during the test taking process. Language acquisition is the process by which humans acquire the capacity to perceive and comprehend language. So going to school and going through the different processes of reading, writing, and listening and speaking are the different forms of ways students can comprehend and perceive their language, the English language. English as a second language, an approach in which students who are not native English speakers are mainly taught in English and focus on language skills rather than content. This can be done in and outside of the classroom. So again, ESL students can be mainstream or unfortunately can be segregated into their own classrooms where they are kept away from mainstream students not available to get that curriculum that the mainstream students are receiving. However, they can be in mainstream classes as well. An integrated classroom. Integrated classroom is a setting where students with disabilities learn alongside peers without disabilities. Extra supports may be implemented to help them adapt to the regular curriculum, and sometimes separate special education programs are in place within the classroom or through pull-out services. So again, a pull-out service would probably be like having a student leave the classroom while taking a test to have the test read aloud to them. So the relevance of this topic is important to me because this is a demographic of students that is possibly falling below the wayside due to the schools not having adequate teachers who are certified in ESL and special education to teach these students and who are educated on the different profiles of these types of students, and the lack of funding. Majority of the funding is by state and local entities, whereas federal funding only arises about to 11%. So if a town doesn't have much money, then obviously they do not have enough money to afford to fund these types of special programs and to pay these teachers. However, there are things that teachers who do have a high demographic of these students at their school can do to combat these issues. They can socialize with these students and try to help them feel more comfortable being in school, helping students understand them and them understand the new environment that they're in, if it is a new environment. Help integrating them into the society with other students and not ostracizing them. So I believe that a social aspect is very important when accommodating and helping these students and making them feel like they are a part, because they are a part of this community, the community in which the school they go to. Teachers being inadequately taught and trained to teach these students is another huge reason why this is important, because teachers are going into the classroom and they're not able to relate and really help these students because they're not aware of what they are needing and how to approach a student that has a different type of learning. Again, all students, even mainstream students, have different types of learning, and a teacher, even though it may not be their purview, should still be able to help accommodate and successfully teach a student regardless. My lesson is the activity is the inclusive integrated learning setting for all types of students who participate in this lesson: ESL students, mainstream education students, and those who are considered special education as well. The grade level pertaining to this content is middle school age students. It is a class group research on different artists of various multicultural backgrounds. I put emphasis on multicultural backgrounds because that also shows a sign of inclusion. My school would probably be a school of various backgrounds. So students that are probably Hispanic, white, African American, and Asian. So it's a very, very much a diverse group of students. So when they're learning these projects, they're seeing people that may look like them and represent a different culture that they also do not know. Students that are needing accommodations or printed handouts will be able to have those printed for them prior to the lesson, because as their teacher, I will know of the accommodations that they're needing. Each day, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, a different artist will be shown. So when the students walk into the classroom, there will be a different picture of an artist. We don't know who this artist is. The students are going to come in, they're just going to see a person's face, and that will get the wheels turning. Who is this person? They'll look at their eyes, they'll look at their nose, they'll just judge them and just to see, who they are, what is their story. So that will lead into a discussion where I'll ask the students, maybe some students might know who this artist is, maybe not. We'll have a discussion about them, just comments and questions about them, not too much facts, just wanting to get them going and seeing what they know and what interests them. So afterwards, a PowerPoint will be shown. Then students will be asked to take out pen and paper so they can take notes on these different artists so that they have some textual evidence of who they are and just very much background information. Students are to join a group, and in the group, each student will present all of their notes that they have formed. They also can choose one piece that has been presented to them by each artist to recreate, and that'll be a part of their presentation. So on Thursday, students are expected to present their information and they will be able to present their different pieces that they have recreated and talk about. So for my students that are needing ESL assistance, my PowerPoints will have captions on them. So when I'm speaking or whatever information they're needing, they can see it directly on the screen. And they will have their translator with them, and they also get to work with peers as well. If they're needing to get some information for their peers, they do have a buddy in the class. Everyone has a buddy, even mainstream students, so that they can rely or just get misinformation or share information with. Also, they will be doing that within their groups. For my students that are special education, the paraprofessional will be with them that will do their accommodations with them. So if this is a sight impaired students, maybe they'll need a lot of verbal guidance and instruction, not so much actual physical, because they will, we do want to push independence, obviously, regardless of a student, what type of disability they have. So even if they're visually impaired, yes, they still will need to write and illustrate anything. Some visually impaired students weren't always blind, so they do have the ability to see things in their minds because they have had sight before. So description for them is a little different because they have seen. So that is another thing to keep in mind when you're working with your different profiles, and understanding that all students that maybe have the same term related to them, they may need different types of accommodations. So again, on Thursday is their actual research work day. So Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, students will be working on their projects. Students will be taking notes and learning about these different artists, having discussions, again, taking notes, and having the printouts from the PowerPoint. So the students will have printouts, so they'll be able to go back and refer to what was in the lesson, even though those lessons won't be retaught. So having that accessibility, and then they will put all the information together, creating whatever it is, a diorama, a poster, but they also are all expected to have a 1-minute speaking part. They will present whatever part that they want to about. They will speak about the artist and whatever aspect the group decides to talk about. So the group can decide to delegate any particular student to do whatever job. If it is to do the drawing, if it is to do the research, or construct the actual presentation. They're all working as one piece of a whole to get the project done. Again, these students are going to have the option to do whatever it is that they want. So again, this is redefining them as an individual, giving them the full reign to express themselves. And in my classroom, I would like to say that inclusion is something that is very important to me. So students, even my shy students, I work on trying to make sure that they feel comfortable speaking in front of people, and that they know that it's important to have their voice be heard, and for them just to try. That their efforts, regardless of how they feel about it or how they may feel I or other students will perceive it, will not go, unseen. So with the speaking in front of the class, they'll present their projects, and that is kind of the gist of the entire artist lesson.